Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ev and today I am really excited because my spinning wheel is right behind me, but it is currently empty, and that means that it is time to officially start my sweater spin. This is a couple part series. I'm not entirely sure how many parts it's gonna be, but it's a series where I'm taking roving like wool and I am spinning it into a sweater quantity of yarn. This is going to be the very first time that I'm doing so, and this is part 2 of that series. Part 1 was basically just discovering the fiber and figuring out what kind of yarn or wool would come out of the roving that I picked up, because I went to West Coast Wools, which is just a yarn convention here in British Columbia, Vancouver, and right here. And this was what we ended up with last time. So this is a swatch made up of 2-plied yarn. I spun up 2 singles and then I plied them together, and I just did a very simple stockinette stitch based on how thick and how many wraps per inches the yarn had once it was plied. I discovered that the appropriate needles would be a 5mm, which is a US 8, or a 6mm, which is a US 9. So the swatch has both. One side is US 9 and one side is US 8. I think in the end I'm gonna go with the US 9, but that's if I'm able to spin my full spin exactly like consistently the same, which is the goal. I also did a little bit of ribbing at the end just to see what that would look like, and I think in the end, if I was to do ribbing for like cuffs and sleeves, I would go down to an 8 because it looks better, the US 8. So that is where we left off. So I have about 2 pounds of raw wool, and it kind of looks like this. So this was Gotland top, 27 to 33 microns. It was from Brooklyn Bros in Abbotsford, BC. It was 2 bags with 1 pound each, and then it was just kind of one long noodle. So what I did is I got myself some clear bins and I put the roving in there. I split it up into smaller sections and just kind of rolled them into balls so that as I'm spinning, I don't have one really long roll. I can just kind of, it's easier to break apart and then draft as I spin. I am planning to continue drafting as I spin, but Gotland is a very airy, fluffy fiber, and it tends to fall apart really, really easily if you play around with it too much. So I'm kind of leaving it as is, and then as I spin it, I just kind of like spread it out a little bit and air it out a little bit more so that I don't end up with a really thick spin. It helps with the consistency a lot better. But if I was to pre-draft it all now, I tried and it just falls apart a little too easily. And then I just have random hairs everywhere. So I still do have a little bit of the mini spin that I did last time with you guys. This is how much is left. It's just a little kind of mini cake because I thought my swatch was big enough for what it was to be. I did discover that individually for the spin to be consistent, I'm gonna need 24 wraps per inch, or about 22, which once it is plied and aired out and washed, it gives about a 12 wraps per inch or an 11. I don't have my little black bar. Okay, so I'm gonna find a picture, but I'm just gonna put it here. But basically this is what the wraps per inches means, and that just helps you identify the weight of your yarn to know if it's a fingering weight, a sport weight, a DK weight. So according to Ravelry, if I have an 11 wraps per inches, that is a DK weight yarn. And if I have a 12 wraps per inches, that is a sport weight yarn. Now, I would love to have a DK weight yarn. Like, I'm gonna measure as I spin because I like to keep the little meter, this little thing. It's somewhere in my apartment. I'm definitely gonna find it right after this. So that would be the dream gauge. So I'm gonna try to stick to that. Gotland is a very warm, a very thick fiber, and it's not the softest wool. It's a very sheepy, warm wool. It's not as itchy or scratchy. It's still soft, but it's not as itchy or scratchy as I would say a Icelandic wool. Is it Icelandic? Yeah, as an Icelandic wool, I think, or is it Fair Isle? But it is not the softest, like directly on your skin. So this is definitely going to be an outerwear, and what I would love to make with this is something very similar to Petite Knit's zipper jacket. I think that if I was able to spin up enough yarn for it, that would be great. So now that one calls for an Aran weight. So it does call for a thicker weight. So again, it very depends on, in the end, how thick my spin is. If my spin is very thick, I'm going to make the zipper jacket. If not, I'm going to find some other type of jacket. I'm also thinking that this yarn, because of the way that the rib came out in this little sample that I knit up, it's very hard to tell, and it kind of blends in a little bit with the regular stockinette. So I don't think that this would be the best yarn to use for cabling or very intricate detailed knits. I think it's more kind of like an alpaca, and it's gonna droop, or it's just gonna kind of like more blend. I'll have to make some swatches after with different stitches and textures and see what would work best. But I do think that, like with the zipper jacket, if I make a jacket, it'll be a more simple stockinette jacket type of knit. Is there something else I wanted to talk about before actually starting this, because I'm very excited? I might do a little bit more research actually. I'm also going to be linking down below some spinning gurus, I would say, or people that I absolutely love to watch and get recommendations from. Recently, I've been really into watching Jillian Eve, Evie from Jillian Eve. She really helped me with figuring out what is wrong with my plies and just figuring out, for example, I was really big on Turkish spindles, and she was one of the only people who had videos with Turkish spindles. She actually showed me what it was before, because drop spindles really weren't my thing, and I really didn't get the grasp of it. I kept dropping it, and my yarn just kept breaking till I got a Turkish spindle, which from then on I've been obsessed with spinning. And recently Rachel Smith, who does lives on YouTube, but to join them in the live, like I watch the playback, because you have to subscribe to her Patreon. It's like a whole system where you can join lives, Zooms, there's events hosted by people in the groups, and yeah, she's just been spinning for such a long time, and I basically got inspired to get Gotland because of one of her videos that she had where she was spinning up Gotland. And I will link that specific video again down below. And then there are Sweet Georgia podcasts. I tend to be a very messy person, and I just watch a lot of videos. So right now it's kind of getting a little bit all confused as I talk about it in my brain. So those are all amazing source materials and YouTube channels and videos that you guys should watch if you're interested in spinning. Another one is Jillian Moreno. I bought the Yarnitecture, a Knitter's Guide to Spinning, because it is made for us knitters who want to learn how to spin. And this has been really, really helpful discovering what a worsted spin is or what kind of a ply you want to do. I hadn't heard of chain plying before getting this book. That is a way that you can create a 3-ply out of just 1 ply of yarn. It's just the way that you ply it together. How to work with different fibers, how to do fractal spinning. So that is when you take one braid, one color, and depending on how you split it, you can get completely different results in your spin. So if you guys are really interested, I highly recommend this book. And I think even Jillian Eve was the one who recommended this book in one of her like top 5 books to get. So that's why I got it. So that is pretty much the planning I have for this project. I'm very much of a spin, learn as I go, figure out my mistakes, and then I'll know for next time. This is gonna be on my spinning wheel. I did the lime green, did the fiber goddess, did the rainbow. Yeah, this is gonna be my 4th spin on my spinning wheel that I got in January. And I will hopefully be making a lot of mistakes that will be good learning mistakes. One thing I'm also going to be spinning this entire project from start to end and then plying it together, because hopefully then that'll help with the consistency of my spin. So if you guys have any questions or any advice, anything that you would want me to elaborate on, let me know in the comment section down below. So the wheel that I will be using for this project is the Ashford Electric E3. That is the spinning wheel I have. It's an electric wheel and it does hold jumbo bobbins. Now I am extremely curious to see how much I can actually put on this bobbin. I have only spun 4-ounce braids before, and I don't fill it up with a 4-ounce braid. Now I think that this can hold 1 pound of wool. I'm not 100% sure. I'm just gonna set up my wheel. But Andrea Mowry is currently hosting a spin along, which is the 100 days of long draw. So I was actually contemplating whether or not doing a long draw type of spin. However, because I've never done it and I want this yarn, I want the sweater to be beautiful, I don't think starting a brand new drafting method or drafting technique would be ideal. So I will do long draw at some point, but just not right now. I have 4 bobbins right now, so let's see how much we can fill up. I do have storage bobbins on the way, so hopefully we can, I have no idea how to load them, or once you load them, do you just spin directly from them to ply? I don't really know how it works, so hopefully we can get into that once they arrive and kind of figure that out. Hopefully I ordered the right ones. I just picked some cardboard ones off Amazon, but we'll see what happens. Why am I so scared? Just do it. Just do it. Gotland is actually insane because you put in all this twist and then it barely, look at this. This is beautiful. I thought I was over twisting in my singles, but like when it plies back, like that's stunning. And it's not too twisty. Since starting this project, I realized that I was actually missing something and I should have potentially bought one of these before starting. But it is actually an apron. I don't know if you can tell, but this is just filled with hairs. So this is something that I should have bought at the beginning of the project, but I'm happy to have it now. I'm almost done my 1 pound of fiber, but basically every time I spin, my pants become so fluffy with fiber. So I just figured if I had a little apron to just cover my lap, maybe then I could wear whatever pants I want and not have spinning pants, because I was thinking about just having pants to wear while I spin, but now in the summer, in winter, whatever I want, I can just have a fiber tablier. And it has a pocket. It has 2 pockets. If you're spinning, get yourself an apron. It'll save your pants. So here's the state of my current spin. I probably have, where's my fiber? I am almost done the bin. I even put a second fleece in here. This is just a fleece or a bat that I'm spinning on my supported spindle. This is all that I have left to spin for the first pound, and my bobbin is still not completely full. So this is kind of crazy that this bobbin can hold 1 pound almost of yarn. I saw that the Ashford, the jumbo one, the really big electric wheel, the bigger one, that one, the bobbin can hold up to 3 pounds of fiber, which is insane. Basically, I could have spun this whole thing on one bobbin. Okay, so this is what 1 pound of Gotland wool spun up looks like. So this is the singles. Boys, I'm filming. Can you be nice? I'm just gonna show you what they look like. Don't move, buddy. That's it. Those are the 2 little, and Marco's hiding. But anyways, a little piggy time. But yeah, so this is what 1 pound of fiber looks like all spun up. I got a little bit scared that I was gonna overpack my bobbin. I'm pretty sure I could have put a little bit more, but in the end, the smaller bobbin that I got from Fiber West, I ended up putting that leftover on that. So my goal for the next full pound is I'm actually gonna weigh this guy, mark it down, and then when I spin it, I'm just gonna make sure that I have the exact same amount on 2 big bobbins. Hopefully having the exact same amount in like grams will mean that they're the same length. They might still be a little bit off, but it's better, it would be best to get them about the same length when I ply them so that I don't end up having to like break and reattach yarn everywhere. And then I'm assuming just like with this one, I'm gonna have some left over from this bobbin. So I'm just gonna put it on this smaller bobbin. And now I do have a 3rd jumbo bobbin because these are jumbos, and then this is just a regular bobbin size. So I do have a 3rd one, and that one I'm hoping to use it solely to ply all of this together at the end, so that as I'm plying, I empty up bobbins and then can just keep plying with them. So this ended up taking me quite a lot of time. However, I was actually anticipating this take a lot longer. Now this, I might be saying this prematurely because I am currently just halfway through the project. I still have another pound of wool to spin up, so it's not like I'm completely done. But I do think for this chapter, I might end it here. I want to show you guys my spin, want to hear your feedback about it, and then keep going into the second spin. And then I'm pretty sure that the 3rd part is going to be finishing the spin and then plying it together and seeing what we end up with. I'm really curious to see how much yarn this will all accumulate to, because I only have a mini nitty naughty. So that means that I'm only going to be able to create mini skeins. So with a nitty knotty, a regular size one, you can create a skein about this big. This is the skein I can currently create. It's a mini skein. This is kind of like a DK worsted. This was hand spun on my spindle. And then this one is a DK, but see, this is 225 meters. This is 100 yards, which is less than 100 meters of yarn. I'm saying a lot of numbers, but yeah, so I'm really curious to see all that roving, how many of these I'm gonna end up with. Yeah. In the end, how I ended up, this is heavy. In the end, how I ended up spinning this first pound is I actually did a worsted short backward straw, and that was kind of just my default. I think that is my default spin. Because this spin was so massive, I just wanted to do what was most comfortable to me instead of going artsy fartsy and just trying new techniques, because I knew that this was going to be a long haul spin. But yeah, this is insane. I am honestly happy with my spin, and it looks consistent from what I can tell. So we'll see once we apply them together what that exactly looks like. This gray is just beautiful though. It's like a silver shiny gray, but then there's like darker fibers in it. I'm just obsessed with it. So I definitely can't wait to apply it all up and keep spinning. I'm gonna try to go not as fast as I can, but I'm gonna try to keep up this pace to be as consistent as I can. Have this done before the end of the year. I don't know if I'm gonna finish the whole knit item before the end of the year. I do have a couple trips coming up in the summer and family visiting, so I'm pretty sure that this is gonna get really, really tight schedule wise, but I'm gonna try to stay on top of it. But yeah, I just can't wait to actually see what happens when this all plies. Now, one of my biggest fear with the spin would be that when I go to ply it, it just all falls apart, because Gotland, this is gonna have to wait on the side. And I mentioned this at the beginning, Gotland tends to unspin really quickly, and it's a very loose and airy fiber. So if I didn't put enough spin in a certain section, it can fall apart. And that would be my biggest fear when it comes to plying these two together. One of them, like this one, will have to wait on the side a lot longer. So when your bobbins wait on the side longer, they tend to bounce back to their original state. They don't keep that twist, which normally it is advised to not ply directly from a spin, to wait a couple days to allow the bounce to like calm down. Because when you spin fiber right away, it's all very tight and twisty. And then when you let it sit for a couple days before applying it, it kind of just like relaxes and will take its shape back. It's kind of like with blocking. Once you block a knit, like when you knit a knit, it's all very tight and active. And then once you block it or wear it a couple of times, the knit will then like relax and just take its true shape. So that would be my biggest fear, is when it comes to applying it, there's just no more bounce and it just like, but I guess we'll see in part 3. So I hope you guys have a lovely, beautiful day. If you have any questions about the current spin, about any words of wisdom for me, let me know in the comment section down below. 1 pound done, have another pound to go. Thank you so much for joining me in this very crazy adventure, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Bye.